I want to quickly get to fan art, but I just want to show you something funny about this video, right? I didn't know this video existed. And for a 2.2 million subscriber channel, this video got the kind of views that my channel at 60,000 subscribers would consider pretty decent. 10,000 views. Means nobody fucking wanted to watch this shit. And that is insane to me. What is this shit? It is Glenn Beck saying that he's talking to George Washington by using AI. Now, let's go ahead and get the first part out of the way. Anybody who knows how a large language model works understands that you will never get anything of worth out of cosplay your George Washington, let's chat. Because the way that ChatGPT and any large language model works, they are built to they are built to aggrandize you. They are built to try to confirm your biases, because when they do that, they tend to do a very good job at keeping you hooked. So if you're a more liberal person and you ask ChatGPT to cosplay George Washington, guess what? You're going to get an awkwardly liberal George Washington. If you are a conservative and you use ChatGPT a bit, then it's going to give you an awkwardly conservative George Washington. Not completely based on the actual person there. It's going to be, here's a facsimile of their personality, but also here's this stuff that they may or may not actually say or do. It's a bit like when a writer makes a character that is, it's just a character from another thing, right? It's a fucking fanfic, and you can tell that there are aspects of their personality, right? Like, let's say it's Evangelion, and they make Asuka, and Asuka is still definitely a tsundere, obviously, but she starts being like this soft tsundere, this very, very, like, baka and also blushes tsundere, the prototypical current day tsundere. And then you're just like, yeah, that's the character archetype she represents. She is one of the originators of the archetype, along with Akane Tendo, but, like, that's not Asuka. That's not who that is. That's not that at all. Axel says there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to do well. Right, there's nothing wrong with making a character different, but you have to recognize where it's coming from. Oftentimes, we put ourselves into our characters. So when you are writing a character, when you're writing something yourself, and it's a fanfic, you might not be putting the author's intentions in that character. You're putting your own intentions in that character, so you get a different character. Likewise, when ChatGPT amalgamates a character to you, it's going to be based off the stuff you have fed it previously. That said, speaking of that, I want to show you guys fan art. This is from Pacifrisk. They said, warning, may cause psychic damage to Suris or other MTG players. This is Surg. Legendary creature. Horror. Haste. When Surg leaves play, put Surg back into play. Okay. I'm gonna just play this in Aristocrats and end the game instantly when this comes out. That's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna sack this a billion times. Everybody's gonna die. Pastorus points out that it's intentionally broken. That's the point. I get that. As always, thank you for your fan art submission. If you are wanting your fan art to be shown in a future video, please consider putting it into the fan art section of the Discord. And fan art stuff is going to slowly be integrated into the Magic the Gathering channel as well as the main channel. That said, let's go ahead and talk about Glenn Beck's weird AI George Washington shit.
Night. I've been trying to help raise funds for several organizations. Been speaking at several fundraisers at Mar-a-Lago over the last couple of weeks, and it's an amazing thing to see how many people are just deeply, deeply engaged in saving our nation, and
that's a bit of rhetoric that's always confused me. Saving our nation. Saving our nation from what? Like, what are we trying to save it from? Like, I remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene was posting everywhere that you need to elect her to save us from socialism, but that's not come to fruition. We haven't needed saving from socialism or any weird shit like that, because socialism isn't on the verge of taking over America. the Democratic Socialists of America only have a few people elected. It's more than zero. They're definitely doing a fantastic job. And if you want to help them out, please consider checking out the description below, where I actually have links to the DSA where you can get involved in any of their chapters and try to help us take the electorate back from conservative nutjobs. That said, even with those numbers, even with that power, we are still not in a position where I could say that socialism is taking over America or communism's taking over America. If anything, America's as neoliberal as it always is, and neoliberalism is doing the thing that it usually does, where it favors capitalism so much that it slides into oligarchy. And when oligarchy is in the hands of right-wing nutjobs, that becomes fascism. Somebody in my comment section made a comment about how there's no fascist illiberal, and I'm sorry, but the criticism from liberalism from the left has been classically that liberalism is an ideology that favors capital over most else. It's usually capitalism with some social progressivism built into it, and when that is your ideology, when you favor capital as much as you do, then you inevitably end up consolidating power in the hands of capital. And at that point, much like with a king, much like with a monarchy, you are gambling that the person who has the power of the boot is a good fucking person. Anyway, let's go ahead and listen to this as well. What are we saving America from, Glenn?
Our life, our fortune, and our sacred honor comes to mind. The dedication of people. Last night I was there for the American Journey experience, which is an offshoot of Mercury One. It is our history section, and we announced that we are building a museum, a brick and mortar museum. We begin early next year, and we had some really exciting things to say about that, and we'll give you updates on that as it goes. But we would love to have your, right now you can come into very small museum. I think we have, I don't know, maybe 10,000 square feet. I think our vault is 5,000 square feet. And, we invite people in to see some of the things, but it's really by invitation only, or if you call Mercury One, you can get in. But we're going to open up an actual museum. And It's not just the museum.
We're an hour, or we're a minute and a half in, and we're talking about opening up a museum. Is opening up a museum gonna be what saves us from like socialism or whatever the fuck it is? Glenn, it's not that I appreciate you or respect you or like your work. None of that is true. But I need to press. Jasta says the vocal fry is killing me. That's not even really a vocal fry, though. That's just what happens when you speak deeply into a condenser microphone with some. I guess you could call that vocal fry, but like I'm used to frying being like the meme deep frying. Still,
it's also a teaching center, and so we were.
Let's see what else is in here, because like I don't think I actually care about the museum. The museum's not going to save you from socialists or whatever.
Things of the founders, all of the writings that influenced them, that we know from their writing, they read this or they were basing these things on these different items. It's the Federalist Papers. It's all of the documents. It's all of their letters to each other. It's their personal writings. It's the Bible. It's Blackstone's law. It's all of the things that they had access to that influenced them in a positive way to build America. And we have George, which is the librarian. And George is going to be a system that will be able to give you answers to things.
So they're going to have an AI librarian with outdated text. And that outdated text is going to tell you to love America again or whatever. Okay.
And show you the actual documents. But it'll be able to speak to you in your own language. If you try to read the founders now, it's so hard because they were so smart. They're using words that I'm like, I don't even know what that means. They're so smart because they're using words I don't understand. Have you considered that sometimes large language models fucking hallucinate? Like, okay, so as a fun thing, last night on stream,
Me and Biminem were playing World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore, and there was a moment where he used the word matriculate, the word that says, like, where did you go to college, where did you get an education? But he used it in a way that it should have been something to the effect of adding one, right? It should have been something to the effect of addition, in addition to, not where did you go here. So, like, when I say that, oh, this thing is spreading, but if I say, oh, this thing is matriculating, somebody who doesn't know what the word means is going to go, oh, yeah, no, that sounds so smart. That's such a smart word, but I'm being actually a fucking moron because I'm using a word a way that it's, like, not meant to be used in any way, shape, or form. That's not what that word means in any way, shape, or form. So, like, as soon as he said that, I was just like, hey, Bim, you okay, buddy? Like, why did you just ask where the orcs went to college? And he's like, oh, right, no, you're right, different word. I'm tired. I couldn't think of the word I'm supposed to use. Like, yeah, that's what I figured happened there. But, oh my God. So when an AI uses bigger words than you're used to, ask yourself the question if it's even using them in the first place. Like, even using them correctly in the first place as well.
When you read the Founders, you usually have to read it with a dictionary side by side. It's difficult, and their language is so formal.
No, Jess, it wasn't articulate, but the specifics of it don't matter.
So it's hard for us to relate to them. But all of the knowledge, this deep, deep knowledge, is there from these guys. Literally, they wrote, I try to remember, was it George Washington or Thomas? One of them wrote at a 70th grade level, the 70th grade, you know. And so they're just way advanced, way advanced.
This is a common trope that bothers the shit out of me. The people of the past were so advanced. They were so smart. They had slaves. They were so incredibly based. Look at them. They knew so much. They had slaves. They knew everything possible. Anyway, they burned witches. They knew so much. They were so uber duper smart. They didn't know how to use spices on their food. Okay, that one still, like, applies today. Jesus Christ.
We put all of this information into our own system. This is an AI system built by me and my team.
Glenn, you did not build it. I promise you, Glenn, you're not a programmer that built an AI system.
And it has pretty much, like, if you will, an electric fence around it. It cannot go and pull information from the outside and mix it with the information from the inside. So it can go and we can import things and say, hey, I want you to look at this bill and tell me.
Also, yeah, a 70th grade reading level doesn't fucking exist. That's not a thing either.
Is this bill even constitutional? What would the Founders say about this bill? And it will look at that bill, and then it will go through all of their, discussions and everything else, everything that is in that AI system memorized from start to finish, which stops hallucinations. And it will analyze that bill, or it will analyze that story. Or you can say, hey, I want my kids to understand the Bill of Rights. In George AI right now is, I don't even know how many thousands of sermons there are from the pulpits that were the churches where these guys attended. Because almost everything in the Declaration and Bill of Rights came from the pulpits. And it's amazing when you read some of these sermons that these guys gave. It'll be on, the right to life, liberty, and property. I mean, that'll be the sermon. And today everybody would be like, oh, I can't say that from the pulpit. We have all of these sermons that our laws were based on, these ideas were based on. And so you can ask him anything. And so when you sit down for the very first time and you're going to talk to George Washington or, a reasonable facsimile of him, what do you ask him? My question was,
I would say, why would I care? So, like, okay, here's the thing. Let me make this clear in no uncertain terms. Even in the world where George Washington could be talked to right now about the state of the United States, I don't care about what his original intent for the United States is, because much like with things like the death of the author, after a certain point, you have to tell the people of the past that this country is no longer for them. They are dead. They are gone. The works that they have created are a foundational part of how we have become what we are today, who we are today, but they are not the end-all, be-all. Their job was to create a foundation for later iterations of Americans to matriculate on, no, to iterate on. To iterate on. We want to be able to iterate on things. This is why we have amendments to the Constitution, by the way. So even in the world where the AI is 100% accurate and it is giving us exactly what George Washington would have wanted, I don't think that there is value in that, because what George Washington would have wanted from the beginning may not actually line up with modern day sensibilities on morality, modern day sensibilities on equality or equity or anything at all. Like, think about it this way. What do you think the conversation about education looks like to somebody from the 17th or 18th century? What does the conversation about education look like when you explain to them, by the way, we have the Library of Alexandria in the palm of our hands, accessible at any moment of any day, at any time. And also, by the way, nobody fucking reads. Just think about that for a minute. You, dear viewer, you have the sum knowledge of all human beings on the planet available in your hand right now, and I guarantee you, you don't fucking use it that way at all.
Fed in all of the conditions of what's happening in America today. And I wanted to have a conversation, and here's a bit of the very first conversation with George AI. Listen.
George, we have programmed a lot of information and given you a lot of information on what's going on in today's America. Based on your writings and the writings of the rest of the founders, what is it that you feel is the biggest problem, or where we should start to fix things?
If
I can see why this only got 10,000 views. The concept of this is strange to me. Also, by the way, just letting you know, do you want to know why there's been such an uptick in people trying to push AI nonsense onto you? You want to know why that's been happening? Just letting you know right now, Google and Microsoft have been offering people fucking $500,000 in order to convince them to hype up AI. Microsoft and Google have been trying to get people to not only use their new AI services, but market those new AI services, and they are giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, question, why would you want to leave that money on the table when you could instead make a video that will be seen by barely anybody in your fucking audience, and then get the bag? Because you have 2.2 million subscribers, and Microsoft is willing to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars. We
may speak plainly. My countrymen, the danger, the greatest danger to our republic lies not in foreign arms or political faction, but in the decay...
May I just interrupt you for a second? Could you just dumb it down just a little bit?
Okay.
What? How is that? How? Glenn, do you speak at a second grade reading level? Is that... What? I'm just curious, Glenn. How could you not understand that?
I do have 29 points, and they're all referenced to exactly what we said in the past.
For this, just speak in today's language.
Okay, I get it. Let me speak to Americans. If I'm honest, America's biggest problem isn't political or economic. It's all moral.
God, the fucking... First of all, the problem is political, and it is economic, and those are both the same thing, I promise you. I assure you, because the politics of America are determined by the people who have money. The people who have access to capital, those are the ones who have access to political power. This is one of the reasons why the DSA's project of trying to seize power from the ground up and build up from there is as important as it can be. But again, of course you're going to get AI George Washington explaining to you, actually, the problem is moral. Like the problem of America being under the boot of Britain was moral and not actually taxation without representation.
You've drifted from the virtues that make liberty possible in the first place. Freedom. To be free, you have to have discipline, you have to have faith, you have to have character. And if you don't have any of those things, laws can't stop anything, and they mean little. Government turns either weak or oppressive.
Yeah, no, I agree with Jassa. It does just sound like, Gideon. I agree with Gideon. AI George Washington just sounds like Glenn Beck. Like, I just hear, it sounds like I'm just listening to a badly auto-tuned Glenn Beck.
You have grown skeptical of truth. You're reckless with debt. You're comfortable blaming instead of building anything. And in my time, we understood that self-governance begins with self-control.
Asita Salon, thank you for giving a gifted sub. I appreciate it.
Even recognize what self-control is. Public virtue matters more than public opinion. You keep electing these people, expecting things to change, but you haven't changed. The fix is not going to be found in Washington, D.C. It's going to be found in every home, every school, every heart.
Yes, absolutely. The fix for American politics is not the politicians. It's not the people who actually set up our laws and govern our nation. No. It's you, dear viewer. It's each and every one of you. Each and every one of you. You need to do the Jordan Peterson thing and fix your own home. And then, everything will just fall into place after that point. I'm sorry, but that's not how the real world works, AI George Washington. The movers and shakers of society are not you or I on an individual level. And trying to argue that this is about individual responsibility is about shirking power and handing it to other fucking people. No, the thing that we need to do is consolidate power, because the thing we are up against is consolidated power. Consolidated power in the hands of capital and in the hands of politicians who are irresponsible with their power. The answer to the boot is not clean your own fucking room and fix all of your own personal problems. That is an answer to a separate question entirely. It is a set of good things you need to do, but it is not the answer to the boot. The answer to the boot, in no uncertain terms, the answer to the boot on your neck is to be the one wearing the boot, because the person with the boot cares not for whether or not you are breathing. You care for whether or not you are breathing, so you should be the one that seizes the boot, so that you can then, in your better judgment, not put the boot on another person's neck. The only cure for power is to be the one that has power. Because even when you dismantle that power, a vacuum will be created and somebody else will take its place. There must always be a Lich King.
Where are the citizens who value duty over comfort, principle over popularity? America was built to...
You want to know why there's citizens who value comfort over duty? Capital. It's just capital. Kaiser says, no, you destroy the boot because once you wear the boot, you will misuse the boot. No, I disagree with you. I disagree with you entirely. So, the problem is the boot will always exist. The boot will always fucking exist. The power will always exist. Somebody will consolidate power and will attempt to misuse it. The only thing that stops somebody from misusing power is being able to leverage power against them. Any argument otherwise is an argument that is incredibly divorced from reality. Because if you destroy the boot, you can go read Kropotkin. You can go read Conquest of Bread. Kropotkin pointed out exactly what happens when you are only focused on destroying the boot. The end result of destroying the boot is in 10 years, you get a new boot, wielded by either a foreign power or a power that was waiting in the wayside for the vacuum that you created. That's what happened in France. That's what Kropotkin wrote about in The Conquest of Bread. The answer is to be the one in control of the power so that the power does not get misused. It is to recognize that you are, yes, fallible, but politics is about recognizing that you would feel better if you are the one in power. You would not misuse the power as much. This is what checks and balances are supposed to be for. The reason Congress and the judicial branch exist in America is ostensibly to be a check and balance against overuse of power. The problem is that power got consolidated in those areas as well on one political side. Kazuri says, but people can't do that. I disagree with you entirely. I do not believe that people have an inherent nature that says that they cannot do one thing or another. And I believe that if enough of us together operate in tandem, we can do a whole lot more than we can individually. So I don't know what you've been observing throughout human history, but people have shown that time and again that they absolutely cannot be trusted with any kind of power. Right. However, you and I live in the reality where that power is going to get trusted, is going to get put in somebody else's hand in the first place. Said, okay, bro, I don't care. Be the boot, Tim Pool. If you think I'm Tim Pool, then go right ahead and think that. Go ahead and think that. I don't care if that's what you think. I don't. But the reason that we elect officials in society, the reason we do that in a democracy, is because we want somebody else who we think is better equipped to have the boot. The reason somebody runs for Congress is to be the one in control of a portion of the boot. Politics is power. To argue it is not, is to argue that you live in a completely divorced from reality society. And we do live in a divorce from reality society, but not in the way that I'm explaining. I understand that you would rather just have everything be dismantled. Guess what? I think that would be cool too. But I also don't think that the material conditions for that kind of dismantling without another power taking over exists. So it would be better for people who are better at looking for their own interests to have access to that power. Why do we want unions? Why do socialists want unions? Because it is a step towards workers controlling the means of production. Why do we do strikes? Because it is a step towards workers having access to a portion of the boot. It is them taking their boot and putting it on the neck of capital. That is what a strike is for. It is leverage. It is power. There's a reason I advocate for the DSA, and it's because the DSA understands this. The DSA understands that the only way to deal with power at the tippy top is to get power rolling from the bottom and try to roll that Sisyphus boulder uphill. There's a reason that people in this chat have ran for office, and one of them in this chat has won. And it is because that person deemed that they would be a more responsible person to wield power. Power's going to be wielded by somebody. It will. So we need to make sure it is somebody that is responsible, that checks and balances can work on. I am a socialist because I believe that the people who should have power where capital is concerned is not the oligarchical interests that currently control it. I believe that the individual workers who are struggling to be able to afford their house should have that power. I don't want to live in a fantasy world where I can simply say stripping the power away from capital is all that needs to happen. Workers need to have that power. Anyway, I have exactly 3 minutes left.
Be a moral and self-governing nation. It's only that foundation that will still save her.
Beginning January 5th on The Torch.
Beginning January 5th, Glenn Beck will give you an AI George Washington that will try to convince you that by being the better moral person at your own home, that will somehow directly translate to America being saved and better. Not political action, not consolidating of power, not guaranteeing that you and yours are looked after better, not getting politicians who are better at looking after your interests in power, not any kind of unionizing. No. Just being a better moral person. That's going to be what makes America better. That will make America great again, or some shit. I don't know. Glenn Beck's cringe. I can see why this video only got 10,000 views on a 2 million subscriber channel. Nobody wants this shit. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Valis of Sereth, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.